Welcome to the Barbara Christensen podcast. The views expressed during this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the streaming services or the host, and these are being shared for entertainment possibilities only. Please connect with your doctor before taking on any new wellness activities, changing your diet or supplementation routine. Barbara Christensen is a certified personal trainer holding a diploma in nutrition and additional certifications in aromatherapy, Reiki, and other energetic and therapeutic modalities. This podcast will open your mind to the tools to clear the chaos from your life, from your body, release the beliefs in your being, activate your awareness, and remove any blocks holding you back from the life you want to live. Now let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Today we are going to talk about the influence of power. Okay, we could be calling it influence or power as well, but the influence of the energy around you and the energy that you are giving off. When I do my intuitive readings or a tarot reading, when I'm working with a client, looking at the form that they filled out, I'm always connecting to that energy, creating like a container between myself. You can hear Oliver coming over to get loves, right? Like he wants to be a part of your container. Myself and the person or persons that I am connecting with. And as such, right, it is very sacred. Sorry about that. We had to let Oliver come join us on the chair. So it really is, right, a container, and it's an energy. So that's why it's really hard if you are an intuitive to read yourself, right? Because you're always going to pull what is for your highest good, but you're always going to pull from your energy. And it's hard for an intuitive to pull in somebody else's energy if it's not already there. So for a couple of weeks, I had Mother Spider totem card sitting on my goddess on my desk. It had come out right when I needed her. And then I started feeling like something was going to shift. And when I walked in my office, that totem card had gone face down, right? It was sitting away from the goddess. So I put it back into my deck, and the night before had a journey space, which for those of you that don't know, I am a shamanic practitioner. And so I do work a lot with my spirit guides, my ancestors, angels, things that you might consider to be a lot of woo. Really, I just tell people that we're working with our own imagination. Our imagination is creating this special spark of connection. And maybe it's subconscious, maybe it's the spirit realm. We will not know until we leave this realm, so you can call it whatever you desire. But I had started working with the lioness and the lion. And so the first card that flipped out of the deck, of course, was lion. And then when I pulled out cards for, what was coming with this full moon, I got the full moon in Leo, right, which is what we're heading towards. And the bright star that will be next to it is Regulus, the eye of the lion, one of the 4 guardians. And then the waxing moon, that the energy is gaining momentum. So I do feel like we're energetically gaining momentum towards this energy of the lion and the lioness, but we're being told not to let pride get in our way, right? And that's where it comes down to influence or power. Now, one of the things we see a lot in the sacred circle is that there will be a theme that ends up running through people's journeys, because there is this energy field, right, that we are creating, even on Zoom, that we are creating that's around us. And with this sticky energy, we all start tapping into similar themed imagination, so to speak. And in philosophy, and some in psychology even, they do call this interpersonal energy. Now, like I said, energy is sticky. And the more you resist your drives of energy, the more you are pushing to let it not flow in the way that you want, right? Kind of think of it as like you are the beaver building the dam, right? And you're trying to stop this flow. That's resistance, right? And it builds up the water, and the water gets higher, and the dam gets higher, and the water gets higher, and it stops this flow. Now, the more that you let what you really want to just be driven by flow, the more you start to glow from within, and the more you find that you become an influence, the more that is seeking you, right? The more that it becomes these enlightened relationships. We can call this prana, we can call this psyche, we can call it ki or chi, and in fact, it can be called the creator energy, as it is aligned with the Shakti. And then when that energy is driven out of that creator space from the Shakti, it really does become the Kundalini. Okay, it's the moving out of Shakti and connecting to those planes of Kundalini energy. Energy is neutral. Like when you're driving a car. If you put your car in neutral, if there is no hills, it will remain in stasis there. If you put it in reverse, it goes backwards. If you put it in drive, it goes forward, right? This is something that my daughter, who I'm teaching to drive now, is starting to learn, right? When you back up, if you forget for a second to put that into drive and you're still in reverse, if you take your foot off that brake for a second, the car goes backwards, right? So energy is neutral, and it's the flow that creates the measure. So if we think about it like the wands and the swords in the tarot equivalents, right, of energetic flow, the doing, the action, the allowance, the thoughts, this is energy in flow, in any sort of state. If we look at the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Wands is a fiery action, right? A call to action. The Ace of Swords is the thought of that action. Okay, Two of Wands, Two of Swords. We've got the Two of Wands being a drive to choose between two different actions. The Two of Swords is the thoughts, right? The allowance of which action to take. And they really do rely upon each other for flow. When we have the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords, oftentimes that Five of Swords is the underlying self-sabotage for the Five of Wands to learn the lessons. Of course, a lot of people feel like the cups should be in this area. They are the emotions. but we don't generally drive from our emotions, which is where we should drive from, right? If you take a minute and close your eyes and move into that heart space and think of a time of standing in the sun and having pure and utter joy and peace. Now, what if you drove from that energy of the heart? It's only when we start overthinking and taking actions based on the overthinking that we start having that interpersonal energy becoming measurable within those around us in a way that becomes that distraction, that mirror, influence, or power, right? Now, if you drive from the heart, I just saw 10:10 on the clock, right? Judgment, when you choose to move as the heart warrants, okay? Move from that cup space. The Ace of Cups can be filling your own cup, being open to receiving and giving all at the same time. But that happens in that flow space, right? What we see is that when we ground in the energy that lands, that state where energy becomes either something quite magical or it becomes very enmeshed, very fragmented, and it becomes very difficult to grow. It's when we drop into the heart that we can flow. That's why part of why I am doing the online cacao ceremony on Sunday, on the 13th. Opening the heart space, right? Because we are spending too much time in the thoughts and the wands, right? We are kind of on a double mission here, okay? Where we are always working on channeling what is our path, where are we meant to be going, who are we calling in, and as well, uplifting humanity. If we are working from our highest self, if we are working from that heart space, we are up leveling the frequency. We are up leveling that Shakti into the Kundalini plane where it is activating on many, many, many levels and then coming back around into our life container. We're not controlling it at that point. But the problem is that a lot of people are afraid to be completely open to their emotions, right? They're afraid of the journey. Imrama, okay? The soul's journey. They are too wrapped up in that life path and not really focusing on, right, all of the rest. And it's very interesting. And let me see if I've got this here. So I wanted to say, when I walked into, I'm getting ready to do the water codes along with the cacao ceremony. If you haven't done the fire codes, you can go onto my social media at Mindset Unicorn, and you should be able to find the link to get to the fire codes, as well as the codes that came before that. But I really saw this representation of the sun and Venus, right? This element of water, the Egyptian goddess, okay? The yellow and the pink, the dark gold and the red, right? The wheel of transmigration moving forward, right? Creation, birth, life, death. Creation, birth, life, death. We are going through that every moment at a cellular level, and yet we are so resistant to the flashes of what that cycle is. We try to control it. You cannot control your cellular being, but we do try to control it. But it's a machine, and the machine always wins. The machine runs on a very specific OS. It always knows exactly how to counter every move you make. There is no demoting it. There is no promoting it. It is just software functionality. You put in X, it does Z, right? It's very interesting because I was listening to this story about this old man, and he was more or less overdosing his body with vitamin C and zinc. And he had been told that you just cannot take too much of either. But the paradox of that is that the body says zinc and copper need to be in balance. And so as it became toxically out of balance, he became toxically out of balance. Again, it's all an OS, it's all a system. And the more awareness that we have about that, and that we just try to contribute in balance, right? I feel like even when I created my Ketolicious Reset program, it was about balance. It was about having more carbohydrates than your traditional keto program offers, and getting those whole food fibers and those micronutrients that the body craves and needs, because there's only so long that your body can run without the micronutrients. And a lot of the leaders and gurus that people are following in these sort of non-traditional dietary processes, these are people that, if you looked in their supplement cupboard and their toolbox, they have all kinds of things that they are adding in to create balance. But your average person that is just, man or woman off the streets following one of these diets is not getting the balance, because they are just doing the macro. And you have to have the macro and the micro. Okay? Balance. We require that. That is the wheel. That is what's ever turning. That is the influence of power. Again, the body is always right. The body is the machine, and you cannot overwrite the machine other than to work with the gene expression. It's like a light switch. You can turn a light switch on, you can turn a light switch off. With a computer program, you can, right, turn something on, you can turn something off. That's how it functions. And beyond that, that's all you can contribute. So being aware of your thought process, right? What is my thoughts, right? Because people around me are going to be acting upon my ideas, my thoughts, my energy. What is the contribution that I'm giving to my body to balance? And then really taking the time throughout the day when you get into that, the wands and the swords, always take a minute to ground and drop into the heart and move from the heart and let go of the wands. Let go of the manifesting. Let go of the thoughts. The heart drop is what will really move the needle forward. So I hope that was helpful for you all today. Much love and light, and I will see you next time. Bye.